Hi, my name is Kevin, and this video tutorial is devoted to helping people learn how to make the internet and how to make it look good while they're at it. In this video, we're going to be looking at the basics of HTML. Now, this tutorial is really aimed at people who are just starting to get their feet wet in the world of web development. We're going to go all the way back to bare-bone basics, starting with an introduction to HTML, what it is and how it works. So let's get into it. Before we get into writing our own code, let's take a look at what HTML is and how it actually works, because it's kind of weird looking when you're not used to it. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language, and hypertext is pretty much just a fancy way of saying text that actually can link to other things, other pages in different parts within the same page. HTML is a very simple language, and it's made up of things called tags, and we have to understand how they work. So I'm going to start by using a little metaphor on this one. Let's say you've got a birthday present and it's all wrapped up and it's ready to go. Well, the first thing we have is wrapping paper. Now, our computers are dumb. If we tell them we have a piece of wrapping paper, it's going to assume it's an infinite piece of wrapping paper that just goes on forever and ever and ever. We have to tell it that our piece of wrapping paper actually ends somewhere. So let's start off this way. We have our wrapping paper and we put these little triangle brackets, and then we close our wrapping paper. So those are the tags, and they show the start and end of a wrapping paper. So we have the triangle brackets, and we put some wrapping paper in there. The tag starts a wrapping paper, and then we tell the browser or computer that we're ending our wrapping paper by putting the same thing again. But this time, we put a / at the beginning of the tag right after the bracket. This says this is the end of my wrapping paper. Now, obviously, we're not going to be giving someone just a big piece of wrapping paper inside wrapping paper. We have something like a box, and then we'll put something inside this box. Let's say it's a nice new train set. Again, we have an opening of a box and an end of our box. Then we have our train and the end of our train. And this train is made up of a few parts. We don't just have a train, the train has different pieces to it. So we have the locomotive that pulls it along, and we have a few different cars in there as well. Now, these aren't real tags, but it gives you an idea of how it's all going to work. The opening tag is always inside those triangle brackets, and the closing tag is always the exact same thing, but with that / in it. This tells the browser that we've closed our wrapping paper or our box or our train. So now we have our wrapping paper, and inside our wrapping paper we have our box, and inside of our box we have our train, and our train is made up of these 4 different parts. As I mentioned earlier, these aren't real tags. We're not putting trains on websites, but this is how HTML tags work. In HTML language, we call this nesting. Well, we'll get to all that later. This is just an outline, a very rough idea of how it actually works before we really get started with the HTML language. Now, with HTML, there are a lot of tags. And we can only use actual HTML tags. We can't make up our own. We can't make trains and cars and boxes and wrapping paper, even though those are really cool. But luckily, even though there's a whole bunch of them, we only have to worry about a few really important ones, especially when we're starting out. In the next lesson, you'll find out what they are and how they work. I look forward to seeing you then, and I hope you liked this video a lot. If you did, please hit the like button, subscribe to it so you can keep following along with this series, and until next time, have yourselves a great day.